When was the last time that you told yourself that you were proud of you? When did you say, I'm proud of you, you've come so far, you've grown so much? Hello and welcome. My name's Tash, and this is the first official episode of Thinking Out Loud. Thinking Out Loud was a podcast that was formulated and brought to life in a very spontaneous way on a rainy day in an Airbnb in Portugal. Last year, when George and I were backpacking across Europe, we were in this gorgeous town called Ericeira in Portugal, and it was storming like crazy one day, and so we spent the entire day in the Airbnb. I said, George, I want to start a podcast. Let's make it happen. There's nothing else that could distract us right now. And we started this podcast, did an intro episode, and left it at that because after that we had to go travel, and then when we got back to Australia, had to settle back into normal life and just haven't picked it up since. Now I know those are all excuses, which is why I'm changing that today. And it is just me. George is at work, and I every single day wake up and say, I'm going to record an episode today. Tesh, you're going to record an episode, and I just don't. And so now I'm sitting down here. I've already got a bit of an idea on what I want to talk about, but I kind of just want it to be a casual chat as well because it is the first episode. So a little recap on what Thinking Out Loud was designed for. It was designed for real topics and honest conversations, unfiltered. In today's world, discussing certain topics can often feel like navigating a minefield. Like, it's so easy to worry about saying the wrong thing or asking the wrong questions, as it can lead to explosive reactions, like I'm sure you guys can relate. There is so much happening in the world, both good and not so good, and I think that the more that we are aware of what's happening, the more informed we can be, one, about what's happening in the world, and the more informed we can be on what role we play. So, like, there is no limit to what we would talk about on this podcast. For me personally, my interests are very much in the psychology, the mindset, personal development, healing, trauma, growth. I've worked in the social work field for the last 5 years, and I am really passionate about that field, as well as sustainability, fitness, health and wellness, nutrition, holistic living, but more on holistic living later, though I have my opinion on that. And George, very much the same, but he has a really, really great interest and really great brain when it comes to history and politics and science and health. Like, he works as a cardiac technician at a hospital, and so he's very, very well versed on health and cardiovascular health and fitness, so I think we wanted to kind of bring that into it as well. But at the end of the day, we are not experts in what we're talking about. We just want to be able to have a outlet and have a space to share our feelings and our thoughts and our conversations, because I think the thing that we noticed is that we do be having some really interesting conversations quite often, and every time we're like in a good flow, we're like talking for like half an hour, I'm like, George, like, why aren't we recording this? Like, I would want to listen to this if I was someone else, and I don't know if that's just my Delulu brain being like, oh my gosh, we could be like popular, and we could have a successful business and have a successful podcast. But you know what? Delulu is the Salulu, because people genuinely crave authentic connection with other people, and I think that's why there is such a rise of podcasts and of vlogging and social media in this way, in this very authentic and realistic way, as opposed to the very heavily curated world of social media and marketing. And I love that, because I think that it creates so much space for more people to be able to share their unique experiences. We are all just human beings. We're all just human beings having unique experiences in our lives, and each person's story is important. Each person's story is interesting, There's not just one type of person who's like, they have an interesting story and everyone else is just a pleb who has to listen to them. No, every single person also has a story to tell. And I just think that that's why we wanted to create this. And if it doesn't get successful and no one listens to it, that's fine, because that means that we have something to look back on 10 years from now, even 5 years from now. It's a form of journaling. It's a form of artistic expression to be able to express yourself. I think it's also really great for improving speaking as well, because as you can tell, I don't have all my thoughts in order, and I think that's something that I struggle with the most. Is I have so many amazing thoughts and ideas in my brain, but I can never really bring them out into my mouth, into my words properly. I'm always like stumbling over my words. I think that's definitely like an ADHD thing. Undiagnosed ADHD here, but I definitely think I've got that because my brain is going way too fast and my mouth cannot keep up. Anyway, in the spirit of artistic expression and documentation, I guess, it is 3:52 p.m. on the 2nd of April 2024. I made a commitment to myself that I wasn't going to go to the gym today, but I was going to go for a run because I've started running. I never thought I'd say that, but I've started running and it's about to be 4. So I think I'll go at like 4:30. So I've got about half an hour to film an episode. So hopefully my thoughts come to my mind. So hopefully my thoughts formulate themselves well and I can actually have a good episode here. So one of the things that I really like talking about is confidence and self-confidence and how we can create, cultivate, and maintain self-confidence. And there's a lot of information online about confidence and what that looks like. And confidence looks different on everybody. Why? Because confidence actually has nothing to do with what you look like to other people or how other people perceive you. You know, you see someone walking down the street, or you may know someone from school or from work or just in your friend circle, and you're like, they are such a confident person because they perhaps have some traits that you consider to be traits that a confident person has. But confidence doesn't always look like what it feels like, if that makes sense. So sometimes the people who look the most confident, who perhaps have the most riz, have the most charisma, have the most friends, have the most energy, have the most to say, maybe are the loudest in the room, maybe are the most attractive physically, that doesn't automatically qualify them as confident, because confidence is a state of being. Confidence is something that occurs within us, and we don't actually need to achieve anything externally to achieve that inner confidence. It all comes from within. Confidence is such an important and interesting topic for me because I think that there is this pursuit for confidence and everyone wants to be confident, and of course we do, but I think there is a lot of misconception on what confidence actually is, and a lot of us are seeking it externally, and we see confidence as this state of being completely fearless and always knowing what to do and knowing the right thing to say, and some people are just born confident, and that's just not the case. I want to share with you 3 quotes that I've written down that I love and that I actually regularly go back to whenever I'm having moments of self-doubt and limiting beliefs come through, poke their head. And I just want to say that having these thoughts of self-doubt and limiting beliefs and these feelings are completely normal. It's really important that we don't beat ourselves up when we are not feeling our best, because that's just the part of the human experience. Our emotions are going to flow through us, and the more we try and push them down with toxic positivity, or try and say, oh my God, I'm feeling a bad way, like let's cover this up with something positive or everything's going to be okay, repeat some mantras in the mirror, that's not always the best way to go. Anyway, so my first quote, and I always go to this one. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It's the courage to take action despite it. That one's such a good one because I think that we have this misconception that people who are confident are fearless. They just do not feel anxiety or stress or any sort of fear associated with starting a new task or talking to a person or a job interview or any of these situations. And that's just not true. It's having that courage it's actually having that courage to feel that fear and allow that fear in our body and say, I'm feeling nervous, I'm feeling scared, I don't know what the outcome's going to be, but I'm going to take this step because if I don't try, I won't know. The second quote is, confidence is a learnt skill, not a personality trait. And I think this is another big misconception. Like, we just think that people are just confident, like by nature, like they were just born confident. But I think the more we realize that how much our life experiences, our childhood, our upbringing, our exposure to different societal norms and expectations play a part in the person that we become, the more we realize that it's not just something we're born with. It's something that we might have a tendency towards based on, every child has their own, what's the word I'm looking for? Temperament. But that being said, we all have the capacity to develop confidence. Confidence is a daily practice. Like, it's something that you actually have to intentionally work towards. Sometimes I think we also think that things should just be given to us, and that once we've achieved something once, it's now just going to stay without any ongoing work. But the truth is, life is constantly changing. We are constantly evolving, and so we need to change our practices and change our mindset with that. And so, confidence also doesn't necessarily span across every single situation. I might be very confident in one thing, but extremely, extremely self-conscious and insecure in another situation. So, for example, I'm pretty confident in singing. I'm very, very insecure and not confident at all in my dancing. And that's just because I haven't practiced or consistently put in the time and the effort to build my confidence in that art, in that practice. And that goes into so many different, situations. So the third quote is, confidence is not something you wait for, it is something you create within yourself. Now, I don't know if that's like a quote that I got online or if it's just something I wrote. If it's something I wrote and it's not, it's very basic, but I trademark it. And you don't wait for it. Like, you don't just sit there twiddling your thumbs being like, when I'm confident, I'll do this. Like, when I'm confident, then I'll make the podcast. When I'm confident, then I'll make the video. And bruh, I know I'm saying this right now, but I am doing this every single day. Like, there is so much I want to share with the world, so much I want to do, and I just think, I'm not ready yet. When I'm confident in that, then I'll do that. I still remember, this is also very much relating to the concept of when I, then I. So when I achieve a certain circumstance, then I'll do the thing I want to do. And it's constantly pushing that thing that you want to do into the future. And it's an avoidance tactic. It's actually a safety mechanism. It's like you don't feel that you can achieve that right now, and so you say, I will do it. It's an excuse, I will do it, but when I get to this, when I achieve this. And I think we are all guilty of this. I do this all the time. I remember one specifically that I used to say when I was younger: when I'm skinny, then I'll get my belly pierced. When I'm skinny, then I'll get my belly pierced, because I wanted to get my belly pierced, but I wasn't confident in my body. And so I was like, okay, well, when I'm skinny, I'll be able to get it pierced. And I'm over it. I don't even want my belly pierced anymore. And don't get me wrong, having goals is good because it's kind of like an incentive. So it's like, when I achieve this goal, I can then when I achieve this goal, I will then have this as a reward. So that's a different thing. But when we push our goals and our actual dreams ahead into the future, with the thought that we have to achieve something first before we can be qualified to achieve that goal, if that makes sense, that's where we are stuck. But there's nothing wrong with pairing a goal with a reward, So it's like, when I deadlift 100 kilos, then I'm gonna get my belly pierced. I don't know. Like, that's different, So what's the difference between confidence and arrogance? I think as well, in our society, we are very, very intimidated by confident people. And we tend to categorize confident people into this arrogance box of, they're just so arrogant, they're so up themselves, they think they're all that. And so I think a lot of that comes from our own projections of our own insecurities. When we feel intimidated by a genuinely confident person who's actually doing no harm to us, and we feel intimidated by them, that's got nothing to do with them. That's actually got everything to do with us. So that's just a little side point. But there is arrogance. People are arrogant, and there is a difference between confidence and arrogance. And I've seen both. And before I knew how to distinguish between the two, I also projected my insecurities onto confident people. And not that this, fixed that, but a lot of my own work and trying to understand why I'm intimidated by confident people, I did a lot of that inner work, and I'm still doing that inner work. Every single time I judge someone or have a negative thought about someone who's living the life that I want to live, I always bring it back to myself, saying, like, am I feeling threatened by this person because they are living a life that I have not allowed myself to live? Or are they doing something that I feel that I'm not worthy of achieving, So let's talk about the difference between the word confidence and the word arrogance. Confidence comes from the Latin word fidere. I'm probably saying that wrong. Fider, Fidere. That means to trust. To trust. Self-confidence is self-trust. When we trust ourselves, our decisions, our beliefs, our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, we have more confidence. So when we trust ourselves, we have that internal validation. We have that sense of self-worth, irrespective of other people's opinions and achievements. There's no comparison. We're not sitting in our mind thinking like, oh my God, I did this thing and now I am better than that person who also did that thing. Or I did this thing and now I am just as good as that person. There's no comparison. It's just how we feel, and that's all that matters to us. We're unbothered by other people and what they're achieving. And if anything, truly confident people are the ones who are cheering other people on. They're the ones who are, so joyful when other people achieve success, because they also believe that they're worthy of that success. That scarcity mindset doesn't come into it where it's like, oh my God, this person's achieved success, now I can't, It's like, yes, you go, you achieve that success, like I also will, or I also have. And that person doesn't necessarily have to already be in that same situation as that successful person. I don't think I'm making sense. Anyway, so that's what confidence means. Now, what's arrogance? Arrogance comes from the Latin word arrogare. I'm probably saying that wrong too. Arrogare. A-R-R-O-G-A-R-E, which means to claim. To claim. Confidence means to trust, and arrogance means to claim. When we are arrogant, when someone is arrogant, we seek external validation because we want to achieve this sense of superiority over other people. People who are arrogant may come across as confident when you first look at them because they perhaps have a very grandiose sense of self. They're probably very charismatic. They're probably very loud, very extroverted. They probably know the right things to say. But behind that and beneath that, when you unravel the layers of those people, you see that they actually brag about their achievements. They're very loud about their achievements. They belittle other people as well. So if someone else achieves something, they start to say things like, oh, that wasn't a big deal, like I could do that, or, that's not even that great, like it could be better. Like the reason why they feel the need to put other people down is because they need to maintain their own grandiose sense of self, and they can't be on top if other people are also on top, because they are in constant comparison with other people because they're seeking that external validation. Arrogance is probably not the only way to describe these people. It's probably just one trait that they have, but that's the main difference between someone who's arrogant versus someone who's confident. Confidence is something that happens within you. So maybe if you're listening to this, you want to learn how to become more confident. And there are so many different ways and tools and practices and techniques that you can use, but the most important thing that we need to build is self-trust. In my opinion, anyway. I just feel like when we learn to trust ourselves, everything else falls into place. That's how, when you look at the different terms, self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence, self-trust, all of those come from a deep-rooted belief and trust in ourselves. And trusting in ourselves means we don't seek that external validation externally. Anyway, so what I've written down, because these are the things that have helped me, how to become more confident in yourself. Number 1, practice self-compassion. True confidence is built through a supportive relationship with yourself, because you cannot shame or hate yourself into being more confident. You cannot hate or shame yourself into being more confident. I used to give myself tough love. I used to say, like, if I wasn't feeling great or if I needed to be better at something, I'd be like, Tesh, get the fuck up and get started, you lazy piece of shit, you fucking bitch. And while I thought that was, uplifting, or I don't know what I thought, it wasn't, because words have energy, and the words that we use towards ourselves matter. Like, you would never say that to a friend. You would never, you might for funsies, but like when it's shit and gigs, but for reals, you would not, if a friend is having a bad day, not feeling good about themselves, you wouldn't say, get the fuck up, you lazy fat piece of shit, and get your life in order. You would have compassion for them, you would have care for them, you would love them, you would say that you believe in them, that you're proud of them. And when was the last time that you told yourself that you were proud of you? When did you say, I'm proud of you. You've come so far. You've grown so much. You might not be where you want to be just yet, but that doesn't mean that you should forget all that you have achieved up until this point. And when I say achievement, I don't necessarily mean, physical achievement or career, or just growth. Every single day is a new day. You have learnt something new every single day, and we are growing every single day. So that is the number one step, okay? We have to start being kinder to ourselves. It really, really matters. Number 2 is consistency and repetition, aka you have to fail. Tesh, are you listening to this? Aka me, you have to fail. This is for my perfectionists. You have to fail. Fail forward. Failing is the only way we learn, because we are not going to be good at things straight away. We just aren't, unless we are naturally gifted. And even then, we're not going to be the best at something. We're always going to have room for improvement, and that is okay, because perfection doesn't exist. And as a recovering perfectionist, this is something that I have to tell myself every day. Tesh, just stick to it. If you're not good at it, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. This is not the end. You can still improve. So you don't become confident after doing something once. You need to repeat that behavior again and again consistently. It's like exposure therapy. It's exposing yourself to uncomfortable, unfamiliar situations so that you can learn to find that comfort within that discomfort, and actually allowing yourself to sit with that discomfort. Because the reason why we give up so quickly on things is because we don't like the discomfort, and we can't sit with that feeling of not being good enough, because we feel that it reaffirms our inherent unworthiness. We think that, oh, well, if I'm not good at something straight away, it means I'll never be good at it, and so I should just spare myself the embarrassment of being bad at something and just give up. And that's just I think it's just the biggest disservice that we can do to ourselves and for our potential. So consistency and repetition. People don't become successful athletes by trying something once. They don't achieve their fitness goals by going to the gym once. It has to happen consistently again and again over time. And when you think about it from the fitness space, the people who are the most successful in their sport are the ones who repeat the same exercises again and again and again. So they don't necessarily have a lot of variety. Now, I'm not saying variety is bad, because I'm someone who needs variety in my life. And so it's really about ascertaining what your goals are, how you want to achieve them, and really repeating those behaviors consistently over and over again. Again, morning routines. Morning routines don't become morning routines by doing them once. They become morning routines when you consistently repeat them over and over again, and the reward is actually within that. There's not a reward at the end of the tunnel always. Sometimes the reward is actually doing that act, that internal satisfaction of it's just the internal satisfaction of doing it. Number 3 is challenge and reframe negative and limiting beliefs. I love this one, but I think that I have a different approach to it, not to like the world. I'm not that special, but I mean to what I see online. I just see that there's a lot around switch your mindset, change your limiting beliefs, like blah, blah, blah. And while I think that's really important, I think we have to, again, go back to number 1 and treat ourselves with self-compassion before we go ahead to change our limiting beliefs and our negative thinking. Why? Because we have to look into why we have those beliefs in the first place. Now, I don't mean that we always have to delve deep into our childhood experiences and our traumas. There's a time and place for that. But I do think that it's worth knowing why we have certain coping mechanisms and thinking patterns, where they came from, and really giving love to those parts, because those parts of us exist for a reason, and they provided safety for us for a reason, for a time in our life. Now, the reason why I like to approach it this way is because I think it provides some more closure, and it actually treats these parts of ourselves and these emotions as if they're their own people, and give them that, I suppose, that recognition for serving us up until this point. We might have certain beliefs around how we should behave, or how we should act, or how we should speak. For example, maybe in childhood, anger was an emotion that was punished very severely. And so we grew up without the ability to healthily and healthily express our anger. And so we either express it very explosively or not at all. And so we're either people pleasers who don't know how to express their boundaries and anger in a healthy way, or we get too angry at too many things and don't really know how to control that anger in a healthy way, because that's what was modeled to us. Now, the reason why I say we have to treat these parts with compassion is because if we just shut them down and say, this is not helpful, this is a horrible part of me, I hate this, that I do this, it's almost like there's a resistance there and there's like a blockage there. And I genuinely just like to view those parts of myself as little versions of me, like different little people, even just give them names. This makes me think of that movie, Inside Out. I think it's Inside Out, the movie about emotions, and how all emotions and parts of us play a role and they're all important. Now, does that mean that they all have to stick around at all times? No, there's parts where they've served their purpose and now it's time for them to go away. And they need to go away with compassion and with closure. And so what I would suggest, and this is what I try and do, is I pay attention to the language I use to describe myself. Do I have all or nothing thinking? Do I think that I need to do everything perfectly all at once, or nothing at all? Not at all. That's the perfectionist thoughts. Do I have thoughts like, I'm not good enough, I'm a failure, etc.? Those are those limiting beliefs that hold us back from achieving the things that we want to do, because we have these preconceived ideas of who we think we are based on what we've been told or what we've been modeled. Then I ask myself, okay, if I have these thoughts, if I'm having these feelings, whose voice is it that's telling me that? Was it a parent? Was it teachers? Was it society? A lot of beliefs that women have are rooted in internalized misogyny based on society and what we've been taught that women should be like growing up. So it's challenging the validity of those beliefs, asking yourself, is this true? Who said it's true? And what if the opposite is actually true? Oh, my dogs just went absolutely bonkers. The dog's outside having a walk. Anyway, they're outside now. Okay, so the last thing I have here is redefine your relationship with fear and leave your comfort zone. The fear of failure is actually holding you back more than failure ever will, because failure is action in motion. And the fear is what's holding you back from actually taking that action. So how could you ever know if you're going to fail or not unless you actually allow yourself to fail? Use the learnings of those failures to then grow and not make those mistakes again. And so when we change our mindset from fearing failure to viewing failure as an opportunity and a blessing, because it's an opportunity for growth, it changes that perspective. And then perfectionism very much comes into this as well. So it's all very linked in with that all or nothing thinking. Perfectionism is I have to be perfect or it isn't good enough. I have to be good or I won't try. This is how you stay stuck, stagnant, and unmoving. I promise you, because this is what I do every day of my life. And today, this podcast is actually a perfect example of how I'm challenging that, because I know for a fact I'm going to listen back to this and I'm going to be like, oh my God, Tesh, what the fricky frack are you saying? Like, not much you are saying is making sense. Who's going to listen to this? How is this going to be useful? And I'm going to have to absolutely push past those feelings of discomfort and say, it is okay. It is not a failure. And even if it is a failure, I can learn from this and I can move on. I'm so excited I get to fail. I get to fail. That means I actually have safety in my life, that I have the opportunity to fail and grow. I know I keep saying grow, but having the opportunity to fail means that I have safety in my life. I have food, I have shelter, I have supportive family, I'm financially stable enough that I'm not constantly living in a state of survival. I have the opportunity to work towards my dreams and my goals and fail. I can fail, which means I have something to fall back on. I'm excited. This is a blessing. I'm so lucky. Anyway, those are the small mindset shifts that I feel that are really helpful for me. So some of the most academically bright and educated and experienced people I know struggle with their confidence and showing up as themselves, being seen and heard. And I've seen this so much. Some of my friends and ex-coworkers who are incredibly intelligent, very talented, very educated, and very, very good at what they do in whatever field it is that they do, but they just do not believe in themselves. And then I have met people or known people who perhaps don't have that many degrees or certifications under their belt, and they are so unapologetically, authentically confident. I mean, I don't know what's going on internally for them, but how they show themselves to be. That's actually another thing. Is like, anyway, they just seem like they are so confident in what they're doing. And so it's not the degree or even the experience that builds confidence alone. Sure, it helps, but it doesn't magically happen to you just because you've achieved a qualification. It just doesn't. It is all internal. It's the inner work. It's how we treat ourselves and how we consciously and intentionally put ourselves in difficult and uncomfortable situations to push past that initial feeling of discomfort and actually find joy in that discomfort. Every new feeling of discomfort is an opportunity for growth. And yeah, so it is well over 4:30, which is when I wanted to go for my run. It's 4:49 now. I've been yapping along. This was actually really fun. I hope that I upload this. I hope that it was interesting to listen to a little bit. It wasn't actually, I feel like it was okay. I don't know. You tell me. Why don't you tell me how it was? But I'm gonna go for a little runny run. Yeah, I'm gonna put it on Strava. Yeah, and I'm gonna hopefully like get some kudos on the app. I'm gonna aim for, I don't know, maybe 4K. I did 3.7K the other day, and then I did 5K at the park run, and that was actually so much easier. So we'll see how today goes. It's still a bit hot outside, so I don't know, maybe I will wait for a little bit longer. No, I have to go now, otherwise I won't go, because I want to walk the dogs as well, because I like to walk the dogs. But now I've got 3 dogs today, because I've got Pandy, which is my dog that lives with my parents, because Lexi and Baxter live with us, which are George's parents, well, George's dogs, but like his parents' dogs as well. And I can't walk all 3 at the same time. I just cannot do it. It is too hard. They are too big. They are too strong. So I might just go for a run and then take them for a walk separately. I don't know. Anyway, thank you for being here. Thank you so much for listening. If you have, if you haven't, then you wouldn't be hearing this right now, would you? No, you wouldn't. So anyway, this quality is not very good, the microphone, so I'm going to keep working on that. But I was like, why should I wait till the quality is perfect to just record something? Again, challenging perfectionism one step at a time. I hope you guys have had a beautiful weekend, beautiful week, beautiful day, and I cannot wait to talk to you in the next episode. And maybe, just maybe, it'll be a proper one with George and I both. But yeah, thank you for listening, and bye!